Hello and welcome to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton. I'm the host of your show, and we come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. Well, we have an incredible guest today, and I am super excited. So we are going to jump right in because I don't want to lose any time on the air with this gentleman. Our guest today is Tyson McCoy. He is a deputy district attorney. He does homicide and human trafficking prosecutions. He's from Kern County. Now, you may say, you're Riverside County. Why do you care what's happening in Kern County? Kern County, we'll ask him here in a minute what it all covers, but I know it includes Bakersfield. But one of the reasons I wanted Tyson on is he's one of the statewide leaders in combating human trafficking. And he has all kinds of credentials on here. He's the director of Human Trafficking Task Force. He oversees the prosecution in Kern County. He has trained many, many officials, including law enforcement, military, and like that. But he's also an instructor for the California Statewide Prosecutors Association, which is one of the reasons I really wanted him on. He's assisted state legislators, in efforts to make human trafficking a serious and violent crime. And we're going to talk about that in depth. You've heard me talk about it over the time about how important it is that human trafficking, sex and labor trafficking be considered serious and violent crimes. And he's a leader on this. So with that, let's just start out by introducing Deputy DA Tyson McCoy. Tyson, first of all, tell us, what area you cover up there in Kern County, and what are some of your challenges related to human trafficking?
Thanks, Opal, and thanks for having me on. So the area that I cover is the whole county of Kern. Our county seat is Bakersfield, and so we see a lot of human trafficking within the city of Bakersfield. Mm-hmm. For those people that may not know, most Southern Californians, I think, know, but the 5 and the 99 intersect in Bakersfield, just south of the city limits. And so we're in a really unique spot because the two main arteries that traffickers use to transport and exploit their victims go through our town. So we see a lot of traffic going north and south of traffickers and victims stopping in our town. We also see them going east and west as they go out to Las Vegas from California and go out to the high desert. And so we interact with agencies, the Los Angeles Human Trafficking Task Force. We deal with a task force up in the northern area. So even though we're kind of in what people might think is a quiet agricultural county, we're very much in the center, or what I call the crossroads of the West, of human trafficking.
Let me jump in here a minute. One of the things I realized is that I just assumed everybody listening knew this show was going to be about human trafficking, sextortion, but I probably ought to back up a minute. This show is brought to you by Million Kids. A Million Kids serves as the training and outreach coordinator for the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. So oftentimes on this show, we do talk about combating trafficking or online social media exploitation. And that's why we wanted Deputy DA Tyson McCoy on today to talk about the challenges of trafficking. Why do you care about Kern County? Because right here in Riverside County and San Bernardino County, oftentimes young girls get caught up in sex trafficking. It looks like a relationship. They fall in love. And when the first thing that's happened is they're transported out of the area to do forced commercial sex. And oftentimes our girls are taken to Kern County. So now that we've laid the groundwork on this, let's go back to what you're saying about the fact that you're laying in a corridor up there. So you have all kinds of trafficking coming probably from Nevada, probably from LA, and I'm sure from Riverside, San Bernardino.
Yeah, I interact with law enforcement from all surrounding counties and counties across the state. And so, I'm in a unique position as a prosecutor because of the transitory transitory nature of human trafficking. I deal with law enforcement from across the state because everyone in this business is constantly on the move and constantly chasing people up and down the state. And so I have cases, from the coast where I have people coming in from law enforcement on the coast coming to Kern County. I have law enforcement from Los Angeles, Orange County coming to Kern County, from Eastern California. And so it's not one of these where it's like, oh, it's just in Kern County. I'm interacting with all of California.
Right. Yeah, many of our cases will start up at your area or Ventura. We see quite a bit coming out of Ventura too and out this way. So, yeah. So what are some of the challenges that you're dealing with up there?
One of the big challenges we deal with in California is we have a massive proliferation of human trafficking. I tell people all the time, this is the crime of our time. And so the biggest crime scene in the world is the internet. And online sexual exploitation is one of the main crimes that is taking place on the internet. And with the lack of, state law support, we see repeat offenders, going in, coming out, going in, coming out. And then we see new offenders being created all the time. And so we're trying to put our hand, in front of, like what I say, the Mississippi River, trying to stop it, but we don't have a lot of tools in our tool belt to really stop this. And so that's why we're working proactively to, get things changed on the state level, because we need help in the law to help us fight this crime.
One of the things that you and I have worked on in the past originally was SB 1042, and now SB 14 is up. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about SB 14 and the need for that and why it is so necessary?
Yes. So in California, human trafficking is currently defined under the Penal Code as a non-serious and a non-violent crime. So what that does is that puts it in the same classification as other crimes such as drug sales, vandalism. It's not considered, on the same class as other crimes such as child molest, rape, criminal threats. And so being it's non-serious, non-violent, it's eligible for a lot more credits in the CDCR system when an offender is convicted. It also doesn't allow for us to double the punishment when they get caught the second time. And so one of the big advantages to the three strikes law is that it focuses on repeat offenders. So all serious, all violent crimes in California are considered strikes, and they fall under the three strikes law. And so one of the best tools that law enforcement has is that when a person goes out and commits a second serious or violent crime, we're allowed to double the punishment of their offense. And then they also have to serve more time in prison. And I think, people on the outside, not in the criminal justice system, it's hard for them to understand just how quickly people are getting in and out of prison. In California, if a crime is not serious or violent, people are just being recycled through the system so fast that the sentence, what's on paper is not what's happening in reality.
Tyson, I'd like to interrupt you there a minute. I think so often when you and I use terms like serious and violent, people think we're talking about emotional terms, and they just assume that if somebody's being beat up or, their life's threatening like that, that's considered serious and violent. But those are legal terms. And one of the things we have to overcome with the public as they vote on these things and support things is for them to understand what it means to be serious and violent legally.
Yeah, and you're exactly right, because the average Californian who is not, doing this, every day in their life, and they're not familiar with these terms, I think they'd be like, oh, it's common sense. You sell a kid to be raped 10 times a day? That's serious. Right. But the reality is that the Penal Code defines what is serious and what is not. So, and unfortunately, there's crimes that do not align with common sense, serious and violent. And so legally, they're non-serious and non-violent. And human trafficking falls under that category. And when I tell people who do not work, in the criminal justice system that human trafficking is legally defined as non-serious and non-violent in California, their jaw always drops, because they're like, how can you sell a kid to be raped 10 times a day And how can that be considered non-serious?
Right. I remember way back to, I think it was Proposition 57 when this first started coming up. And Proposition 57 never really made it clear whether or not that included child sex crimes, which we now know from court cases that it did not. And I think that it's that most people in the community are really naive about what that is and what that means. Well, we're starting to come up against a hard break here, folks, so we're going to ask you to stay with us. My name is Opal Singleton. Our guest today is Deputy DA Tyson McCoy from Kern County. Be right back.
Are you tired of eating at the same old restaurants? Let me tell you about a fabulous Italian restaurant we found in Riverside, Mamma Mia's Italian Restaurant. Their caprese salad is exquisite with candied balsamic glaze. All of their sauces are special recipes using only the best olive oils. The salads are fresh and healthy. They offer a wonderful array of pastas, including shrimp scampi, capellini, bolognese, and lasagna. They're famous for their gourmet pizza, and you can order online for takeout or have a special date for dining in with family and friends. Mamma Mia's caters special occasions and host private events. You have to try it out. Mamma Mia's Italian Restaurant, located at 10971 Magnolia Avenue in Riverside, 1 block north of La Sierra on Magnolia. That's Mamma Mia's in Riverside. Be sure to tell Michael, Alex, or Joseph you heard it on AM 590 The Answer.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of MillionKids.org. I believe the 4 most powerful words on earth are I believe in you. So we created a challenge coin that says, I believe in you on one side and stand tall, you are loved on the other side. This one-of-a-kind challenge coin is a perfect gift for birthdays, anniversaries, graduation, Christmas presents, or just an anytime gift for someone you love. What a powerful message for a parent or a grandparent to give to a young person. This 2-inch coin is made of polished gold. It's striking to look at, and it is priceless to hold. It is packaged in a beautiful black velvet gift box. What a great way to leave a legacy of love that will last forever. To purchase this coin, go to millionkids.org/gallery. Each coin is $25. Go to millionkids.org/gallery to purchase and give a legacy of love.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sellers and buyers recognize that these low interest rates will not last. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton. I'm the host of your show. I'm also the president and CEO of an organization called Million Kids. This is an organization that has operated out of Southern California for, almost 15 years now. Hard to believe. 12 years working with the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force and the Riverside County Sheriff Department. I got to give them a plug. They're just amazing people. And we've just come through Human Trafficking Awareness Month, let's put it that way. And our guys have been very, very busy with all kinds of operations and have done an excellent job out there. But our guest today is Tyson McCoy. He is the director of Kern County Human Trafficking Task Force. And we all kind of work back and forth together, as Tyson just has shared with you. These guys don't care which side of a highway they work or which county they're working in. And in fact, one of their MOs is to hit as many counties as possible to make it difficult to investigate. So with that, I want to get back to Tyson. We're talking about this idea that human trafficking in California is not legally considered a serious and violent crime. So, Tyson, you were talking about when you and I were talking earlier about a particular case that I'd like you to review with the audience about how this works, because if it's not a serious and violent crime, then it looks like the first thing that happens is people get out of prison early, and also they might get reduced bail. So walk our audience through why it is so important that this is a serious and violent crime and what happens when it's not.
Yeah, no, it's and this is a really important thing for people to understand, and why this is so important. So I'll give a quick example. The last jury trial I did, which was in December of last year, so just about a month and a half ago, I prosecuted a man named Kwan Richardson. He had sex trafficked a 15-year-old girl in Orange County in 2017. He was arrested by the Orange County Human Trafficking Task Force, and he was prosecuted by the Orange County District Attorney's Office. He was convicted, and he was sentenced to 8 years, and that was in 2017. He was sentenced to prison, and he was released in 2020. Wow. And so you can see he's not serving anywhere close to the actual 8 years. Right. And then he came up to Kern County after he was released, and in 2021, the Kern County Sheriff's Office arrested him for trafficking multiple minors and pimping an adult victim. And then I took that case to jury trial, and he was just sentenced to 28 years last month. But that case demonstrates the reality is that what's written on paper and what a judge imposes, you hear, person sentenced to 20 years, right, person sentenced to 30. That's not what they're actually doing. The California Department of Corrections has a lot of custody credits. And so these guys are doing, less than half of their sentence most of the time. They're getting out a lot quicker than people realize, and that's where we get this revolving door.
Tyson, tell us what you mean by custody credits. So let's start right from the beginning. You get a sentence, and then what happens at that is allowing this to allow people like that out?
Okay, so right off the bat, custody credits, a person is going to be eligible to do, because this is a non-serious, non-violent crime, they're going to be eligible for 50% what they call good conduct credits. So, for instance, if you traffic a child there's an enhancement where you can get a longer sentence up to life, but if you don't have this particular enhancement, it's a 12-year max. So with the custody credits, right when you walk into CDCR, the realistic starting point for you is going to be 6 years on a sentence of 12 years.
Now, CDCR stands for what now?
It's the California Department of Corrections. So that's the prison system. So when someone is convicted of trafficking and sentenced to prison, they go into CDCR, and then they get credits. And so the public doesn't know that their sentence is already almost immediately going to be cut in half due to good conduct credits.
So this is good conduct, or are they taking classes or putting out flyers, or what are they doing to get these credits?
So basically, they stay out of trouble. They don't cause problems in prison. They're going to be eligible for good conduct just as a matter of course. Wow. So they sit around and watch TV and just stay out of trouble. They're going to get the good conduct credits. There's other credits where if they participate in programs and things like that, where they're eligible to get additional credits. And so you have things where CDCR, just examples, there's rehabilitation credits if you participate in certain things. There's milestone credits for being in the system for a while. There's educational merit credits. There's accelerated credits. And so when you start to break down the math and you start to look at the reality, is no one's paying attention to the metaphor, like metaphorically back door. The sentence is 28, but then they're getting filtered out so much quicker that, these guys can get out in way less than half time.
Now, this is based on the primary sentence, not any additional enhanced sentencing. That was one of the things that I think most people didn't understand, including myself, about, for instance, Proposition 57, and then we tried to get 20 through, of course, and then later we tried to get 1024. But what a lot of people don't realize is when you get a sentence, then you get enhanced sentencing. But these credits, they just eliminate the enhanced sentencing and put these credits against the base sentence. Is that correct?
Well, there's some technicalities when you get into enhancements and things. there's the ability for the enhancement to be, like the punishment to be stayed. And so, a person could have like an enhancement to a charge. So just so your audience understands, as an example, robbery would be like a charged crime. And then like an enhancement would be when they robbed someone, they used a gun. So that enhancement is like the gun. And so there's opportunities for the punishment of the enhancement, because you have a punishment for the robbery, then you'd have a punishment for the use of the gun. Both have times. There's an opportunity for that punishment on the enhancement to be stayed and not imposed, so they don't have to serve it. There's some technicalities about that, but this is one way where California has dramatically reduced the prison population. Years ago, there was all this discussion, it's overcrowded. The prisons in California were just overcrowded. They're shutting down prisons now at a pretty consistent pace. And so it's shocking, because when you see the crime trend going up in violent crime, while the prisons are going down, you have to ask yourself, what's happening?
Yeah, I'd like to jump in there. I mean, I'm a civilian and you're a deputy DA, so you're a lot more smart on these things than I am. But, we're investing our money. Okay, we're saving money by closing down or eliminating a lot of prison time, but we're reinvesting all that because these people reoffend, and you have to go all the way through all the investigations and new victims and new pain. And like that, and new prosecutions, and it's like an endless cycle almost.
Yeah, it's really, if you were to really get into the financial cost to California and do a real analysis on whether you're saving money by taking this course of action, I don't think it would really pan out, and for a lot of reasons. One, just the re-victimization and people needing services from the state of California and assistance by the people that are victimized, and then having to supervise these offenders on the local level. And then when they commit crimes again, the cost of, having to go through that whole process again. And so I don't think it's a really intelligent analysis when people are saying, we're shutting down prisons and we're saving a lot of money. I think that lacks critical thinking, and it lacks understanding of the impact of criminal conduct.
Yeah, let alone all new victims and all new pain and changes in life. I mean, many of these crimes, like you're talking about with your case here that you were talking about, that gentleman, as soon as he got back out, Kawan Richardson, I mean, he is violating, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids.
Yeah, and that's the thing with human trafficking that's so dangerous and so far-reaching in its impact. I told the judge at sentencing for Kawan Richardson last month, I said, Kawan's going to get out of prison. He's going to be able to move on, and he's going to do things with his life. But the reality is these young girls who were sold to dozens of men,
it changes their life forever.
We're
coming up against a hard break here, so I'm going to ask you folks to stay with us, and we'll bring Tyson McCoy back. This is fascinating stuff. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, millionkids.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton. We're the host of your show. I'm also the president and CEO of Million Kids. We're so fortunate today to have just an excellent guest, a guest that I have wanted on our show for quite some time, and a guest that makes a big difference, not just in his own county, which happens to be Kern County, up a little bit north of us, but across the state. His name is Tyson McCoy. He's the deputy DA in Homicide and Human Trafficking Prosecutions out of Kern County. But more important, he, working along with a senator by the name of Shannon Grove, have made a huge difference in trying to change the laws within California to be able to make child sex crimes, human trafficking crimes that are serious and considered serious and violent in a legal method. And with that, I want to turn it back over to Tyson and let him talk about some of the efforts that he's made and along those lines, some of the obstacles. More important, I want you to listen real carefully because we're going to ask you to get involved and write a letter. And so pay attention here. This is serious stuff if you don't want to keep having all these people back out on your street. So Tyson, let's talk about what you've done with legislation and what our audience can do.
So the kind of the big piece of legislation that we're working on again is SB 14, which is the bill that would classify and legally define in the penal code human trafficking as both a serious crime and a violent crime. And so we need to get this law changed, or we're going to see traffickers just going in and out of the prison and reoffending. And if we can get it to become a violent crime, that would help limit the custody credits, because if you're a violent offender, you're only eligible for 33% credits. You get 1 day for basically every 3 days or 2 days. And so it would help us on that front. It also would help us because when they reoffend, we can double the sentence the second time they come around. And if they do it a third time, they're eligible for a sentence of 25 to life.
Wow. So I know this is getting prepared to go up through the Public Safety Committee, been there, done that, watched it before. But we really think that if we can get the public behind this, hopefully it'll really get their attention. So what can the public do? Is there something that they can do in like writing a letter, and who do they write that to, and what do they do if they want to help?
Yes, that's a great question. So the most important thing is getting the word out. Most people don't know that human trafficking is non-serious and non-violent, and that these offenders are getting out really quickly. So if they can, I encourage people to share information about the bill with their friends on social media, post about it. There's Shannon Grove's website they can Google. If you just Google Senator Shannon Grove, SB 14, her website will pop up. There's a fact sheet. There's graphics that people can post. There's videos. So there's all types of things that people can share. And they can also sign an online petition on that bill webpage. And that signature will go on a list that will be presented at the bill hearing to the senators that will determine if this bill will be allowed to proceed.
I'm going to jump in here a minute just to make sure, because a lot of people may not know Shannon Grove's name. You and I do because of what we've done in the past. But it's Shannon, Shannon, and her last name is Grove, Grove, like Victor E. Shannon Grove. If you want to Google that and find her site, and go in. And also, can they also find this under SB 14? Probably not, just under Shannon Grove. Is that accurate or not?
No, I would put in Shannon Grove just because there's going to be Senate bills probably that are older and maybe from other states that pop up, and so in a Google search, I would just put in Senator Grove SB 14, or you can do SB 14 human trafficking. That'll probably show up. But there's so many SB bills. Just be aware.
Yeah. The other thing we're going to do is at millionkids.org, this show will be archived there. And I share that, and it'll probably be made into a YouTube too. And I share that so that if you feel like you're not, as the audience, feel like that you're not equipped yet to really talk rationally about this, you can download this show and you can just forward it to as many people as you want to, so that people understand what is going on and can take action. You know, as the public, we have a right to get involved, and we have an obligation, in my opinion, because this is really about the safety of our kids and our future and our community.
Yes, and that's so critical because I don't think the public understands. There's a 5-person Senate committee on the Public Safety Committee. There's a simple majority that is required. So 3 of those 5 need to say yes to allow it to go further into the process. And in Sacramento, these bills don't get much attention, but if the public gets involved and they sign, they show up to the Capitol when it goes to hearing, it changes the dynamic.
Yeah, you know, I think that that's a very important thing to let you know as the audience. You know, it isn't like you just can't fight City Hall. You have a right to fight for this. And I'll tell you what, there aren't many things out there that I fight for because it's just a complicated world out there. But when you keep seeing people like this, Kawan Richardson, being poured right back into the community and violating 14, 15, 16-year-old girls, using social media to lure them in. This is one of those things where we need to put a stake in the ground and take action, in my point of view, and you can make a difference. I mean, certainly Tyson and I do this for a living, okay? But this is the kind of thing where we need you, mom and dad, grandma and grandpa, to make your voice known. So I'd ask you to contact Senator Shannon Grove's website and also share the show with everyone you know. It will be archived. So with that, one of the things that I really want the people to understand is that trafficking feels like it's one of those things that doesn't happen in our community, or it feels like, well, it doesn't have anything to do with me. You know, I don't know anybody who's out on the street turning tricks. I don't. I mean, that's what the average person says. But what you need to understand is that this is combined with a new law that went through called SB 357. And that new law has said that law enforcement can no longer intervene if you're loitering for the purposes of street prostitution. So the odds of one of the people that you might know starting to become a victim are going to greatly increase as these bills come together. Would you agree with that, Tyson? I agree. I will tell you right up front, I'm opinionated on that, and my audience knows that. But what's your thinking as this is happening at the same time that SB 357's on?
You know, it's really dangerous. And I'll give an example. We're seeing right now, there was a news article, I believe it was up in Oakland, where there are pimps and victims, trafficking victims who are being sold basically outside the school gates of a school up there. And this is just one
Catholic
example.
School.
Yeah, it's a Catholic school. And what people don't realize is that traffickers train their victims to recruit more victims. So
That's right.
You may not see the trafficker in front of the school. You may only see the victim, the quote-unquote prostitute is what everyone views them as. And that victim has been trained to recruit other victims for the trafficker to bring them under the control of the trafficker. And so this is just one example. Well, now these kids are going back and forth to school. Every time they walk through the school gates, there's victims there that want to help their trafficker get more victims. So you have right now recruiting people who are capable of recruiting right outside the schoolhouse gates.
I agree 100%. I've been watching that. The other thing that we're seeing is because law enforcement can't intervene, pimps and cartels are taking this as an invitation to come to California and make some money. That's what we're seeing. In that same article I read that you were talking about, they're saying a lot of these young girls are getting out of vans that have Nevada license plates on them.
Yeah, we are, with what is going on with the refusal to recognize trafficking as serious, with the legalization of loitering for prostitution, we are becoming a sanctuary state for sex trafficking.
That's right.
I mean, people talk about, Me Too and protecting people's rights. California is legalizing the exploitation of women and kids by enacting legalizing this type of conduct and refusing to recognize the crime as serious. They're basically saying you can go stand around and sell yourself, or try to sell yourself loitering, and that's just fine. And it's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, hang with me a minute here, Tyson. We're up against that break again. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced: The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www.millionkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock on AM 590. The Answer.
Custom Service Systems, a proud supporter of Million Kids, is a family-owned and operated commercial cleaning company servicing the Inland Empire and surrounding areas since 1974. CSS takes pride in their ability to maintain the business facilities they serve and their long-lasting relationships with their valued clients. CSS provides a variety of cleaning systems customized to client needs, including deep cleaning and disinfectant to be COVID-19 compliant. From basic office cleaning to windows and floors, CSS will clean up your mess so you don't have to stress. Custom Service Systems cares about families and communities and wants to give back. Custom Service Systems are proud supporters of Million Kids to keep kids safe from predators. If you need the best cleaning services for your business or corporation, contact Custom Service Systems at cssclean.com. Again, cssclean.com, or call 951-781-9345. That's 951-781-9345. You will know you found the best. Custom Service Systems.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Let me tell you about my friend Doris Anderson at Remax Realty in Upland. She is amazing. She's kind, she's patient, but she listens. And she's informed, and she will help you with your real estate transaction in a way that works for you. Doris, in full disclosure, often supports the work of Million Kids because she cares about young people. But she knows how to analyze a market, how to market a property, and how to find just the right transaction for both buyers and sellers. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate or invest in income property, contact Doris Anderson at Remax Realty, 951-733-8899. That's 951-733-8899. 951-733-8899.
AM 590. The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton, and our guest today is Deputy District Attorney Tyson McCoy. He's out of Kern County District Attorney, but as most of you know, this show is brought to you by Million Kids, and we work with our Riverside County Human Trafficking Task Force. Just amazing men and women. I am so blessed. I've been with them 12 years now, and absolutely blessed to have incredible district attorneys and sheriff in Riverside County. And I don't want to neglect San Bernardino County, by the way. I'm doing some training over there on Monday next week with San Bernardino County DA. So I'm impressed with all of them. And we are really fortunate in the Inland Empire to have such quality individuals that combat this. But the reason I wanted Tyson on is because Tyson has kind of led the charge up and down the state to make human trafficking a serious and violent crime. And that is just so important to do that so that we can begin to get strong sentencing. So one of the reasons I know that Tyson has done this is because human trafficking is not like a lot of people think. I think when you think of prostitution, you think of Pretty Woman, I saw that thing. That was not what we see in human trafficking. So Tyson, you were talking about the way human trafficking works, and especially how they use a lot of the females on the street to recruit other females, including our kids. Can you tell us what you see in the real life of human trafficking?
Yeah, and so I just give a couple quick examples. One, the trafficker, when they train their victim to go get more victims, in the case with Kawan Richardson, one of the victims recruited got the other victim to meet the trafficker while they were being housed at a foster care facility in town. So that's very common. And so the trafficker will use his own people to get more victims, but online. And this is the important thing for all the parents out there. Your kid's phone holds the largest crime scene in the world, and your kid holds the largest crime scene in the palm of their hand every time they connect with the internet. And these guys are on all the social media platforms, the traffickers. And your kids, the metaphor I use is when your kids log into a social media platform, they have entered the Coliseum. They don't know who's going to come and contact them. They're not smart enough to know who's on the other line, but the traffickers are. And so the traffickers will do a number of things online. They will flatter your kids. They will tell them they're beautiful. They will tell them that they will give them exciting, things. They will take them to fun places, and they will convince your kid to meet up with them. And then they will take them and they will traffic them. The other way that they will get your kids is they will sextort them. Yes. So they will pretend that they are a kid of the opposite sex of your child's age. They will ask your kid to send them explicit pictures after they've talked to them and developed a relationship with your kid. If your child sends them a sexually explicit image of themselves, that's where the extortion comes. They will say, if you don't pay me $500, if you don't meet up with me outside, I will send this naked picture of you to all your family, all your friends, all your classmates, your teachers. And so these kids get sextorted. And because they're so ashamed to talk to their parents about what they did or to talk to the police about what they did, they'll comply to try to placate the trafficker, or unfortunately, some of these kids will commit suicide because of shame.
We talk about that regularly on this show because, well, as you know, we have a movie out. By the way, it was shown at the Pentagon 3 weeks ago. I was excited as heck. And it was in the running for an Oscar, but it's not going to make it. I can tell you that. But that show, that film is available online. I have to stick a plug in here. Sorry. Anyway, it's available online right now. Just go to Sextortion. That's the word sex and extortion together without the E. Sextortion. Go to sextortionfilm.com and you can see how to download it. It's on Amazon, it's on iTunes, and on Apple TV, and it is getting rave reviews. And it's based on a real case that was filmed inside of Homeland Security. And it's a movie that every parent and every child ought to see before or if they're on a phone or a device of any kind. They need to see that film. Tyson, you are so right. So many times these online exploitation, the parent doesn't get it, that they will be, lured in, they'll be violated. And then once they're violated, they begin to be put out for sex trafficking. And, I think that the average person it's beyond their world, and so they can't fathom it. But you and I live in this world, and we see it.
Yeah, and that's the thing I tell people all the time, parents. I say, the internet you grew up with is not the internet your kids are on.
That's
and
right.
Like, you don't understand all the dynamic ways that they are being attacked by online platforms and traffickers, because they didn't exist when we were growing up. And, it's funny, Facebook, which, a lot of adults use, is
right.
considered an old person's social media site.
That's right.
It's like they're not even really doing much on Facebook. They're on all these other platforms. And so we as parents, a lot of us are on Facebook, and we think this is kind of like what social media is like. But you have all these other things like Snapchat, TikTok, where these kids are it's a lot more dynamic environment. And like, give you an example with Kwan Richardson, he posted marijuana drugs for sale on Snapchat, and that's a method that he used where he would offer drugs to these girls, and then he brought girls into the sex trade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I often lecture on that. I have a book out called Societal Shift, A World Without Borders, A Home Without Walls, on that very subject about, we have 45 people that we know on Facebook, but our kids will have 3 or 4 or 5 million followers. How do they figure out who's the good guy and which one's the bad guy, especially when they're offering them things out? We're coming up to the end here. I'm going to tell the folks one more time how to write to get on the site for Senator Shannon, Shannon, Grove, Grove, so that you can find out how to sign that petition on there for SB 14 that would make child sex crimes violent and serious crimes. We got a couple of minutes here before we close out. Is there anything else you want to close with, Tyson? Because I so much appreciate your knowledge and your expertise and coming on today.
And thank you, Opal, for having me. And just kind of one last thing, too. Your listeners, this will only change if you get involved. We will not win this fight. It will not be Opal and me. The public has to get involved. And also, another thing, if you contact Senator Grove's office or you go on her Facebook page, you follow her, on the day of the hearing, we don't know the date yet, but when the hearing is set for the bill in Sacramento, you can actually phone in to the hearing and say, my name is so-and-so, and I'm from this county or city, and I want you to pass this bill. That's very, very powerful. And so if you want your voice to literally be heard in Sacramento, I encourage you to follow her page. They'll post when the hearing is, and then they'll post the phone number to call.
Yep. That is really, really powerful. I sat in on the last one by Zoom so I could watch the public safety hearing, and it's really enlightening. I'll say that. Well, our guest today has been Tyson McCoy, Deputy District Attorney up in Kern County, and a real warrior throughout the state to make child sex crimes violent and serious. And we all need your help to do that, okay? We can't do this by ourselves, okay? We do this every day, and we see the results of it. But we need you, the public, to do it. If you want to contact me and get a message up to Tyson, you certainly can do that by going to Opal, O-P-A-L, at millionkids.org, M-I-L-L-I-O-N, millionkids.org, not .com. That's a rock band. You don't want them, okay? I want to thank each and every one of you for making this show possible. So many of you, I meet you out in public and you say you never miss my show, and it just means the world to me. And some of you actually send checks to help make this happen. And I really, really appreciate it. If you want to support the work of Million Kids, you can do that by going to millionkids.org and hitting that donate button, or pick up the address and send me a check. I like those checks. I'm old-fashioned like that. I even go to the post office myself sometimes and get those, and I appreciate it. I want to thank each and every one of you that follow this show, that care about these subjects, that share it with other people, that do what you can in your sphere of influence to protect our kids and make our lives and our communities safer. These crimes do not have to happen. We need strong legislation, and we need strong training at home between families and between parents and grandparents and kids on those devices. So I'm going to ask you to think about all that this week. Put your arms around your family this week. Let them know how proud you are of them. I believe the best way to combat trafficking is those words, I believe in you. And I hope that this week you can enjoy your family, let them know how proud you are, and tell them you believe in them. I'll see you next Saturday at 3 o'clock on AM 590, The Answer.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.